Hey, we're cutting down this Ford pickup, 6273. They're both identical. And for the guys that we're doing the clamp-on systems for, we're going to cut it precisely in front of this factory resonator. See how it has a stair step? So you want to cut as close to the weld as you can. Leaves us about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches. And on the lower, we're going to cut it as close as we can to the weld. We're going to cut them both off right there. And then we're going to slap on our pulse chamber and we're going to clamp it, then install our head pipes and the rest of the system. On this truck, I just cut it off at the tailpipe, slipped the tailpipe out of the factory hangers. And we're going to pop it all out of the factory hangers. But I wanted to be precise where you cut the resonator off in order to clamp on the pulse chamber. After we cut out the inlet of the resonator, I typically cut it off here, I whittle it out. But you have to be precise. After we cut in front of the resonator, then go ahead and cut it here at the outlet, the inlet of the muffler, and your tailpipe off. Make it easier to slip out of the rubber hangers using WD-40. After we got the pulse chamber slid on, and I banged it on a little bit with the hanger to make sure it's seated all the way up against the factory joint. It's gone about 1.5 inches on the top one, about 1.5 inches on the bottom. Take a 3/8 ratchet. I'm going to tighten up this top one, making sure you're parallel with the chassis, pointed straight back, nice and level at the bottom of the frame. And I'm going to put the saddle all the way up next to the edge, so I get maximum clamp. Notice on the bottom, you can slide it anywhere, but if you come and get it all the way up to the edge of the clamp, you'll get most clamping force. I even got out a torque wrench. I'm going to torque them to 35 foot-pounds. That's what my little chart says, grade 5 3/8. Pulling them up equally. If it clicks, it ships. A little over 1.5 inches on the bottom. I slid the pulse chamber on. This is expanded up to 2 3/4 inches. There are 2 clamps provided for you in the kit that are marked 2 3/4. They go on the front joint. If, before you clamp, if this is pointed down or askew, you have it backwards, because I've taken the joint in the pulse chamber and corrected the angle from the Ford factory head pipes to run parallel with the chassis and the drive line. I've clamped this way down tight by putting the clamps on the very leading edge, or as close as I could. Get it right there, right there. If you slip it too far back, we're going to miss the clampable surface on the inside of the head pipes. So after we've done that, we've got that all up in position. Then we're going to drop, I'm going to slip my head pipe all the way down to 0. I'm going to look at my installation sheet, and the number on it is 33.5 inches from the rear end housing to the head pipes, because we make our kits for long bed, short bed, 3-door, 4-door. So we're going to come off the rear end housing, and we want to be 33.5, which this truck is a long bed. So we're going to trim our head pipes right here. And then we're going to get our 33.5 inch, and then we'll do the mufflers. I'm going to verify my length. 33.5. I'll be right back. We're now going to install the head pipes, the exhaust pipes. You'll notice it has a flare on one end of the pipe. This pipe is designed to go over the top of the pulse chamber and clamp. So I'm going to slip the clamp on the pipe, let it be loose. I'm going to pick my head pipe up and slide it over the top of my pulse chamber. And I'm going to slide it all the way to 0, which means all the way on, it won't go any farther forward. As we referenced before, we're going to be 33.5 inches from here to our head pipe. I'm going to slip my clamp up in position. I'm going to make sure the seams turn to the top. That way you have a nice appearance. The seam is to the top. I'm going to snug this clamp just a little bit so I don't have to chase it. And once again, we want to slide our clamp up using a 3/8 socket up to the edge of our pipe so we get a nice clamping force. That just got her on there snug. I don't have it over tightened. I've slid my head pipe on, bottoming it out on the front joint. I'm going to take and I've marked it 2 inches is where I want to have my muffler slide onto. Verifying my length from the rear end housing to the 33.5 inches like in the instructions. The reason the head pipes are extra long, our kits fit whether it's a short bed, 2-door, 4-door, long bed. We give you excess to cut off there so we get the right wheelbase for your vehicle. Now I'm going to slip my muffler up in position. I took my 2.5 inch clamp, just slipped over the end of my nipple on my muffler, using an offset as an inlet and a center outlet. So we're just going to simply slide it on to my 2-inch mark. Make sure it's straight up and down. And I'm going to snug it just a little bit with my impact because I don't want to be chasing the muffler. And I'm going to take it all the way to the end of the pipe, the nipple on the muffler. I'm going to prop it up, make sure it's level. We're nice and level. So now I'm going to tighten my clamp further to really snug it on there so I don't have to chase anything. Now that I've got that one good and tight, we're going to install the head pipe for this inside. Once again, we're going to slip a 2.5 inch clamp over the bell. Back it off so it slips on there. Slide it on side B. Make sure it bottoms out. I'm going to put my seam to the top and I'm going to install my second muffler. I'm going to mark my 2-inch again on my second head pipe. I just want to make sure I don't bury it in the case of the muffler or get everything out of square. 2 inches. Using the MPI Turbo Series mufflers, I'm going to put my clamp on the offset inlet. And it's a 2.5 inch clamp again. The whole system is 2.5 inch from the pulse chamber back. I'm going to just pop that on. And I'm going to slip it back up to my 2-inch mark. Offset inlet, center out. Grabbing a second stand, I'm going to put them parallel together. And now that I got everything kind of stuck in position, I'm going to come up and clamp my inlet on my head pipe. I'm going to snug it pretty tight because I know exactly where I'm going to be now. Sliding it up to the edge of the exhaust pipe. And I gave her a good rattle. One important part is we got to verify from the rear end housing to the case of the muffler 19.5. If you slip it up there and you don't get your measurements, you can trim a little off the inlet. Installed our spacer to hold our mufflers nice and parallel together. I'm going to take and I'm going to put the front hanger on. This is the one that's in the chassis. I'm going to slip it on, snug it a little bit, just so it helps steady everything. It's a hanger that's in your kit, and it simply just slides up into the factory mount. And I'm going to slide it down on my head pipe, and I'm putting my saddle clamp back on. And I'm not going to really tighten this, I'm just going to snug it up so it helps support the system. Keeps everything in place. And we'll make final adjustments. When we go through, we'll rattle everything tight. But this, for right now, I'm just going to help support the exhaust system while I start hanging the tailpipes. It's supposed to be straight down in the chassis. We're just going to put it in there lightly because we might have some small adjustments afterwards. Just like that. We're going to leave it on the stand, but that helps stabilize the system. Next thing we're going to install, I'm going to slip my clamps. I'm going to install my 2 rear muffler clamps. I just backed them way off. And I'm just slip them over the nipples on the outlet of the muffler. Slide them forward, back them both off, slide them over the nipples of the muffler. Then I'm going to get the left hand or the right hand tailpipe. It's all one piece. On this F250, this is a behind tire tailpipe. Number 14. I put my 2-inch mark on the inlet. I'm going to slip it up over the rear end housing. I'm going to slip it into the outboard muffler, the one that's closest to the frame rail. After I've got that up over the rear end, I'm going to take my rear hanger. I'm going to slip it in the mount and locate my rear tailpipe. A little WD-40 on it, so she slips right in the rubber. Hook points towards the rear. Excuse me, the hook points towards the front. I forgot. And I'm going to simply put my saddle on it and a stand under it so I can level my tailpipe. Okay, I'm going to just snug up the clamp a little bit so it fits in there nice and loose. Put my level on my tailpipe. Rotate it in the chassis until we're dead level. Dead level, I'm going to go tighten the inlet to my tailpipe at the muffler. Slipping it back to the edge of the clamp like we did prior. Put it right on the edge of the pipe. Still nice and level. Now I'm going to tighten my clamp for my hanger. Making sure I got enough clearance. Some of these old spare tire holders, they've been massaged over the years. There we go. Now I got to give it a little tweak. Still a lot of clearance. Now we're going to go and install the second side. This is a 2-piece. I'm going to mark my 2-inch. It's right there. Clamps on the muffler, up and over the rear end. To my 2-inch mark. I'm going to install my turnout because this is behind tire tailpipe on the left-hand side, little tech tip. The seam of the pipe always goes to the bottom. This is part number 54. I need to fetch a clamp. Before we even do that, we're going to use the factory bolt over here on this side. It's a T30 Torx. We're going to zip it out. It's mounted there for the spare tire holder. Slide our axle pipe in, goes up over to the left-hand side. I'm going to take and mount my hanger. Earlier I took out the bolt, strip my hanger. I'm going to go up in here, start my bolt. I took out the Torx from the factory tire mount, Mounted my hanger up there, got it loose. I got my axle pipe loose. Now I'm going to simply take my turnout tailpipe behind tire. I'm going to slip it in position. I'm going to put a clamp on it first. Seat it up tight in my tailpipe into my axle pipe. Now I got my clamp positioned where I want it. Then I'm going to go seat my bolt up at the top. Now I got my hanger mounted. I'm going to verify my links again. I'm going to put my clamp on my axle pipe to my tailpipe. Put it right on the edge of my pipe again. Voila! We're ready for the tip installation. This kit came with chrome tips. I'm going to put my band clamp on my tip, slip it on my tailpipe. I'm going to rotate it to the MPI on the top. (2010 to 2016) 6.2 liter Ford pickup with a clamp-on pulse chamber. The clamps look goofy, but that's the way you have to index them. Oh yeah, don't forget to put the heat shield back on. We'll do that later. Goes through the pulse chamber, 2.5-inch duals. Clamp on mid-pipe hanger. Our mufflers are clamped on with a spacer. This is to keep them from rattling. Our rear clamps also incorporate the rear hangers, and you can flip them around adjustment. There's a little adjustment there. One piece right hand tailpipe. Make sure you have a clearance. If you got to give a little spring, hell, that heat shield don't care. Clamp on tips. Over on the left hand tailpipe, our axle pipe seated in. Clamp on the joint. Come back, bolt on left rear hanger right up into that factory bolt, and clamp on tips. Plenty of clearance on everything. If a guy wants, you could wire tie this, but shoot, there's enough clearance on everything. Our bump stops are, oh, I don't know, 6 inches, 5 inches. We got more than a ton of clearance over everything. So you can order your clamp-on kit for your 6273 gas-powered Ford pickup and have enjoyment of more power, mileage. We build it and ship it direct to you at MPI Exhaust Technologies.